a podcast filled with conversation and curiosity sparked by Utica Community Schools. This is UCS Podcademy.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lucas Mazurek. I am a junior from Eisenhower High School, and today we are discussing the School to Work program. Today we have our guests, Mrs. Catherine.Lelito, who is the Utica and Eisenhower School to Work coordinator, and Mrs. Janet Gendelman, who is the Henry Ford and Stevenson School to Work coordinator. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Lucas.
So starting off, I would like to ask, can you explain what the School to Work program is and how it works?
Sure. So the School to Work program is an opportunity for students at all four of our comprehensive high schools to go out and have a real life work experience that relates back to a career area that they're interested in. So something that they think they want to do in the future. It also relates back to a class at school that they might be taking. So, and that would be a career technical education class. So as an extension of the school day, our students are enrolled in a 6-hour course with myself and Mrs. Lelito, and they are leaving school after their 5th-hour class ends, and they are going out into the workforce. So our students are working in jobs, entry-level jobs, but those entry-level jobs are in businesses and organizations that are preparing them for a future career. So our students are maybe working in a medical office. They might be working in a manufacturing facility. They might be working in a childcare facility or a local business. They have the chance to really see what that environment is like. Back at school, they're getting a grade and a credit for going to work. That is really based on how they do in the workplace. So they have evaluations, formal evaluations with their supervisors. They keep track of all the hours that they work in a time book. They meet regularly with myself and Mrs. Lelito. We talk about employability skills. We talk about maybe some concerns that they might have, or maybe how to deal with a situation in the workplace. So we're really there to guide them and advise them, and also work with the businesses and our business partners to make sure that our students are having a great experience, but that also the business partners are having a good experience as well with the work that, the students are doing. Because ultimately, many of these students go on to stay in these organizations beyond high school.
How and when did this program get started in Utica schools?
How and when? That's a pretty big question. The School to Work program, a long time ago, was also referred to as the co-op program. It still gets referred to that as the co-op program because that's a universal word. But the School to Work program, co-op program, has been alive and well in Utica Community Schools for over 40 years. I personally was part of it when I was in high school quite a few years ago, and I have been in this position for almost 20 years as a School to Work coordinator, and I will have area districts that will call me and inquire about our School to Work program because they know that it's been around for a very long time.
Did your experience in the School to Work program in high school influence you to come back and be able to lead in it as well?
Looking back now, I would say yes. I was definitely going down the business career pathway in accounting. I wanted to be a CPA, and that's what I was going to college for after I graduated from high school. And I have always had a love for teaching, and I decided what type of position is teaching accounting in high school and being in the business department in college. I kind of married my two likes. And so then when I came back and I was in the classroom, this position became available, and I put in for it and have been doing it ever since. So it's pretty near and dear to my heart.
That's awesome. So that leads into my next question. What types of businesses have employed students over these years?
Different types of businesses. We cover all the career pathways. So any type of business career pathway, medical career pathway, manufacturing and engineering, and also arts and communication. So any student that is in any type of the elective classes in one of our 4 comprehensive high schools is eligible to apply for our program.
Can you give us a synopsis of what you as a school to work coordinator does?
Sure. So, in the spring, as the school year is kind of wrapping up, Mrs. Lelito and I, we start talking to students about the opportunities. We do that in one-on-one meetings. We might go into classrooms and talk to students specifically. Many times students are referred to us by their teachers, or we go out and talk to teachers and say, we might be looking for this specific student. Do you have somebody in mind? Once we've talked to those students, we explain the program to them. We share the information about what the requirements are in terms of grades and attendance. We share with them what some of the positions might be. And then from there, the students go back, they talk to their parents, they tell them about the program. And then we help them prepare for that job. So that starts with creating a resume. So we help students create a resume. Once they've put a resume together, we really talk about, okay, well, where are we going to send this resume out so that you can go on an interview? So once we send those resumes out to our contacts, the students would be called for an interview. We help them prepare for that interview because many of our students have never been on an interview. It's the first time they've ever applied for a job of any kind. So we help them prepare for those interviews. They go out on those interviews. Ultimately, once they've been given that interview and they get the call that they're being offered a position, they accept the position. They're enrolled into the program. Once they're enrolled into the program, we, work with them in terms of employability skills, what the job is kind of going to look like, what our expectations are for the students. We talk about, what the schedule might be like. They obviously talk about that stuff with their employer as well. But then throughout the year, I always say we're kind of like a career counselor, right? We kind of coach these kids through their jobs as they're working. If they have a concern or they're not sure how to deal with a specific situation at work, right? Maybe they have to ask for time off because they're going on vacation. How do you do that at work? What do you say? What's the appropriate, way to request that time off? So we coach them through their job throughout the year. We communicate with the employers all the time in terms of how the students are doing. We go out and visit every single job site wherever our students are working. We do that to make sure that our students are working in a safe environment, to make sure they're having a good experience. Sometimes it might be to address a concern, right, that the student might have. So that's really on a day-to-day basis what we're doing. We're constantly fielding phone calls from new employers, people who are calling us to say that they might want to work with our program, they might want to work with our students. So that might be a time where we go out and have a meeting with a new employer. Back at school, we're doing presentations. Sometimes we present in classrooms, junior high classrooms. I mean, our days are, pretty full of different activities.
Personally, I am extremely interested in pursuing a career in law. So if I would like to become an intern or get experience in a firm before I were to go on to college, how could I utilize the School to Work program to set me up for success regarding that?
That's a great question because some students do come to us possibly with a position where they know that they can work. We have had law firms in the past that would hire our students, again, entry-level position to do filing or answer the phone or help out the office so it can run smoothly. So your question, if you came to us and that's what you're interested in, Mrs. Gendelman and I would work diligently to help facilitate you get a position in a law firm.
What are some challenges you face as a school to work coordinator and how do you overcome them?
Some challenges that we face are roadblocks when students come to us and they wholeheartedly want to be in our program. They want to work. All of our positions are paid. So that is definitely a draw. However, a student leaves after fifth hour. They have to provide their own transportation. So they have to get from school to work and then from work home. So if we don't require them to have a license, but they have to have reliable transportation. That can be a challenge. And once we talk to the student, they kind of see that it's not going to work out. students that play sports or are in any extracurricular activity after school, whether they dance at a dance studio, they have a horse that they need to go to the barn every day. You can see that in our program, you work almost every day after school. You definitely work when the employer needs you to work. You might not work Monday through Friday, but you have to work 3 days during the week at least, and you can work on weekends. So that also can be a challenge because you practice every day after school. So there's challenges like that would hinder a student from doing our program.
How does the School to Work program provide essential real-world skills to students?
So our students are working with adults, right? Which is not typical for, many of our teenage students in the high schools, right? Typically, myself, I had a job also in high school, and I worked with a lot of my friends. I worked with my peers. So our students are working with adults, right? So they're building those communication skills that are essential in any job. They're building those professionalism skills, right? Because it's very different to work with adults versus your peers. Our students are a lot of times given tasks maybe that are a challenge where they might have to solve a problem and, rely on other resources. So they are definitely having a different type of experience than more of a traditional job that a teenager would have.
Yeah, they're getting an exposure to the real world and tasks that they would have to be able to complete in a real workforce. So are students limited to work options within the program, or is it open to varieties of employment?
Definitely open to a variety of employment, depending on what the student is interested in. We do have positions in almost every career pathway.
So that goes back a little bit to my question earlier regarding the law firm. So if I were to find a law firm that was willing to hire me, would I reach out then to you guys to facilitate it through the School to Work program?
Definitely. Students will come to us and tell us that, they could work at this certain law firm. And then we reach out to the law firm to let them know what the program is about. Sometimes we'll go out and meet with them, give them our handout so they know the expectations back at school along with our expectations of their performance at work.
And like you said, that would be my 6-hour block. So I would complete my schoolwork for the day through 5th hour, and then I would leave school, get ready to go work at the firm, and then earn a grade for it as well.
Correct. A grade, a credit, and money.
Correct. Sometimes also, Lucas, it's a matter of Mrs. Lelito and I will make phone calls. Like we will look at some job opportunities that might be out there, and we will, just call a local employer, share with them what the program is. We'll mention that we saw that they're looking to hire, and sometimes, the employer will say, wow, this is really interesting. Maybe I will hire a high school student rather than, an adult for this, part-time positions.
So that leads into my next question. How do students get involved in the program, and when can they begin to take advantage of the program?
So how do they get involved? They get involved really by reaching out to Mrs. Lelito or myself and letting us know that they're interested in School to Work. And it is a program that's eligible for all of our juniors and seniors. So you have to be in 11th or 12th grade.
Are there any prerequisites besides the 11th and 12th grade that you have to meet in order to participate? GPA, teachers, letter of recommendations, things like that?
You definitely have to have a 2.0 GPA or higher. You have to have good attendance at school, carries over to the workplace, good attendance at the workplace, and including tardies. Tardies are not acceptable in the workplace. Also taking one of our career and technical education classes. So whether that's medical science 1, medical science 2, marketing 1, marketing 2, our auto 1 or 2, construction trade, design engineering. Those are just a few of our career and technical education classes.
So for the businesses watching and listening out there, how can they get involved, and what is required for them to get involved?
Any business that is out there and would like to be part of the School to Work program is welcome to reach out to Mrs. Lelito or myself via email. Our contact information is on our Utica Schools websites for the 4 high schools that we work at. They can reach out via email, and we will, respond and set up a time to talk. But for the employers, the biggest requirements are that they must follow child labor laws and also be able to employ the students for a minimum of 10 hours a week. So the students must work at least 10 hours every week.
And then on the other end, is there a maximum hours that they're not able to cross? Like, do they have to work under a certain amount?
Yeah, so 24 hours. Child labor law says that while students are in school, they cannot work more than 24 hours during the school week. Outside of that, school week, when there's a vacation in the summer, they are able to work more hours.
So for businesses that are interested in reaching out, the emails of Mrs. Lelito and Mrs. Gendelman will be in the show notes as well. Is there any feedback or success stories you've acquired over these years from the students that have participated in the program?
We definitely have had many, many success stories of our students, and that's the part of our position that Mrs. Gendelman and I like is when we go back and visit the job sites, we will run into former students. They could be 10 years out of high school and are possibly still working for the same organization. And one comes to mind for me. She was working for Human Resources Department and put herself through Oakland University, got a degree in Human Resources, and continued to work with that organization. So it's definitely a stepping stone at an early age to start networking and learn about the career before you actually go to college for it.
So it does affect them in a very good way and their careers post-graduation. It sets them up for success, if you would say.
Definitely.
So do you have any last remarks regarding the program?
I would say School to Work is a really, really unique opportunity and a really wonderful opportunity for students to launch their future careers, right? So they have the chance to get out in the workplace, really see what the job might be like in the future because of the people that they're working with, right? So a young person who might want to go into the medical field, working in that medical office, seeing what the nurses do, what the doctors do, the physician assistants, and so on, they really get a feel for what that might look like. Many times our students realize that it's wonderful and it's definitely what they want to do, but it's also a really good learning experience when they realize it's not what they want to do, when they have that opportunity to say, wow, I really thought I wanted to work in the medical field. I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and maybe that's not what I want to do, or I really wanted to go into manufacturing, and this is a really neat place for me to see what it's like. I think this is what I'm going to pursue in the future. I mean, these conversations, these scenarios happen all the time, and seeing our students succeed is great, but also seeing them succeed and realize that they're going to go in a different direction is also really nice.
It's a win-win.
For us, it's a win-win.
Alrighty, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me today. I'd like to thank the audience for listening and watching. For UCS Podcademy, I am Lucas Mazurek.
UCS Podcademy is a resource created by Utica Community Schools, Michigan's second largest school district located in Macomb County. Thank you for listening. UCS Podcademy is always available at uticak12.org/podcademy. Through this website, you'll be able to listen to additional episodes and access any resources and show notes featured in this episode. If you have episode recommendations, we invite you to send them via email to ucs@uticak12.org.